Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production. My name is John A. Costa, hosting this podcast of News with a View, a conservative-leaning podcast, but we do look at the Democrats' point of view on subjects and fit them in. Sometimes we've got to shoehorn them a little bit to get them into a conservative direction and to show why in the conservative world we are going to think differently on some subjects, not all subjects, but some subjects brought up by the Democrats. We're opposite. I focus on constitutionality and laws, what they mean. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an expert on nothing. We get into the show, leave comments, good, bad, whatever. Leave comments. Today is September 2nd, 2025. This would be episode 124. I ask all of you to go and watch my episode 123. Certain people will not like it, but we're still in this episode 124. We're going to bring up topics that were discussed heavily in 123. Today's starts off with my opinion. The DNC problem that they're facing. Second thing I'm going to talk about is the media and Epstein. Third thing is going to be an issue that was discussed on episode 123, and that has to do with transgender healthcare, transgender medications, and what I feel is the main issue. The fourth thing we're going to talk about is John Oliver kind of went after Chuck Schumer. And it's interesting because, Oliver used to praise Schumer and all the Democrats and everyone else, and now they're eating their own. And the fifth thing that I'm going to talk about is in Texas, the 15th Appellate Court ruled against Governor Abbott's attempt to stop Beto O'Rourke and his fundraising, which I had said when that had happened that I didn't think the governor could do what he did. And there's been some fallout, and now it's going to get a little bit more dicier. So let's get back to my opinion with the DNC. Robert in New York, you're not going to like it. And I'm going to read it as I wrote it today. I have 9 pages today, folks. Not of that, of everything. Democrats have no plans but plenty of insults for the President of the United States. The latest from DNC Chair Ken Martin insulted President Donald Trump as a dictator-in-chief and declared the president's agenda is fascism dressed in a red tie at a National Committee meeting August 26th and 27th in Minneapolis. Wow. Okay. Of course, President Trump has energized the nation's economy, all but stopped illegal immigration, made NATO stronger, is brokering peace in multiple conflicts, and set back Iran's effort to acquire nuclear weapons. Democrats can't compete with President Trump on the issues. They're forced to mock him with outlandish labels of a dictator and fascist. This has always been the Democrat. They called Bush Hitler. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. and calling Trump Hitler would have been the same as if the media called Obama the N-word. Just so you know. All right. Martin, who is the chairman of the DNC, shamefully admitted to the realization that Democrats are in trouble. Now, look, folks, he said, I'm sick and tired of the Democratic Party bringing a pencil to a knife fight. He said, we cannot be the only party that plays by the rules anymore. What rules? Like the rule of having a primary and then not liking that Biden won, and so you anointed someone else to run instead of the primary. Those rules, right? Just want to make sure we know what rules we're talking about. We've got to stand up and fight. We're not going to have a hand tied behind our back anymore. Well, you tied your own hand. You went with an agenda that maybe 5 to 10% of your party was on board with, and yet you kept that going. The party's would-be leaders aren't energizing Americans either, with stars like California Governor Newsom creating more problems than they're resolving. To me, it's no wonder why Democrats were sounding desperate in Minneapolis. And it's true. It's not hard to see why registered voters are quitting the Democratic Party. Progressives continually take the opposite side of common sense. Take crime, for an example. Let's just take crime. Trump made waves 2 weeks ago when he sent troops into Washington. D.C. was full of bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor. And, of course, the Democrats, as much of the mainstream media, crapped all over Trump's in his fear-mongering. But in reality, the homicides and other violent crimes have been unacceptably high in those areas, in D.C. and in neighborhoods, since Trump sent in the National Guard agents to establish and reestablish the rule of law. Crime has dropped so much that D.C. Mayor Bowers was forced to acknowledge that the president's orders have worked. An opinion poll, for the Republicans, of course, found that 53% of Americans approved of how Trump is handling crime, higher than his overall job approval or approval on other issues. So what is happening is that America, according to the polls, and I hate polls, they could be set up any way they want to, and that's just the way it works. The polling showed, of course, that President Trump is, the people are in favor, and what are they going to say? Anything else? I mean, really, it's a poll done by the Republicans. So whenever one of these parties do a poll or pay for a poll, those questions that they're asking the people that they're contacting have been written by psychologists, tweaked as to get a particular answer. So polling, I never really trust polling. Where I trust polling is exit polling after an election. But even that, anytime, I lie to pollsters because I don't have to tell them the truth. And, just to throw their polling off. And I think both sides do that. But you can't deny what's the results that happened in uh, uh, Washington D.C. and that you hear the actual fear, the panic of Chicago, the mayor there, and even the governor, the panic that if Trump sends in the military to take control of the police department, because the police have not been able to do their job. They would be very willing to enforce the law, but they're being held back. And I think once, you had what, 7 murders over the weekend? 24 shootings or violent crimes, in a, 20 block area. Yeah. Yeah. There's a problem there. There has been a problem there. In his first administration, he begged Chicago to do something about it. Said he'd help. Well, when you don't do it and you don't protect your people, and I said this in episode 123, when you don't, you're unable or unwilling to protect your citizens, then it's up to Big Daddy. Big Daddy being the federal government, to come in and do your job. All right. We'll see how that goes today with this. I talked about 10 minutes on that. And that was my opinion. That the Democrats are bringing nothing to the table but insults. That's all they can bring is insults. And what a shame, because they can bring good things in there. They can bring things that, 45% of the people of their, the voters out there, or the people that at least are talking to the pollsters, have concerns with. And the president represents everyone, even people that disagree with him. And that's the way the system should work, and that's the way it does work. So, let's move on to the second topic. The media's obsession with Epstein. And that's the media playing up to the Democrats, because that's, again, all they have nothing but a story about a guy that's been dead since 2019. So Alan Dershowitz has suggested there is a list of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged clients that is being suppressed to protect certain individuals. I said that too. These are heavy clients, both Democrats and Republicans. Heavy donating clients that could be a problem. Could be politicians on both sides of the aisle that would disrupt our government. He knows, he said he claims to know their identities and the reasons for their protection, but it's constrained by a confidentiality agreement. Now, who does he have a confidentiality agreement with? The deceased? I mean, now, is it, do you still have that confidentiality after the person is dead? Normally, your signature dies with you. So any legal documents and stuff goes into probate and everything else, I'm not sure that, well, I don't know. I thought about this, and I just got this out today, them talking about this. Lawyers representing the victims of Epstein has demanded accountability for those who enabled his crimes. Now, if you went to his island, is that enabling him? See, this is a civil case. There's no criminality here. The criminal case of the last person was Maxwell. And she's been convicted. So it's been accounted for. Now they're going for the civil trial because there's money involved. And some of these women that had gone to the island, 6, 7 years, and are, have complained that they had to do things they didn't want to do. There's talk of underage and child pornography. If that's the case, why were not people charged? So I'll get on with some of this. It just doesn't make sense. But this is all they have, and it's meaningless with Trump unless Trump is involved with it. And if Trump was involved with it, you don't think that would not have been an issue in the last election, that were screaming, that they have all this information and they're going to put it out. It's not being put out because there are some very high-profile people from both sides of the aisle. It's on that list. And it's guilt by association. If you went to that island and there was nothing going on, but you went to the island, they want to hold you responsible. If you cut a deal, if you made a business transaction over there, you're responsible. This is all about putting a percentage of blame on people for a monetary outcome. Because no one's been charged. There's been no crime since Maxwell. No one charged. So the lawyer, which is Sigrid McCawley, who was saying that, there's a treasure trove of information that her clients could benefit from. And, of course, the DOJ and FBI memo confirmed Epstein did not keep a client list and found no credible evidence he blackmailed influential individual. It also reaffirmed that Epstein died by suicide in 2019 in his jail cell. Now, Pam Bundy had said that there was information so upsetting that it wasn't good for the American people to know. Well, I don't know about that. And she said it involved child pornography. Well, then why aren't people being arrested for it? Maxwell, who was part of the whole group, was never charged with that. Now, are you going to charge her with that? Is it going forward, or are there other people? Is the Department of Justice going after other people? We don't know. But this is really what the media has right now on all this. It's not much. I mean, nothing that has been released has been a bombshell of information. It's everything that we've known already. So, from the let me see. I think I brought the Dallas Express. Republicans push to ban transgender treatments. and hold doctors liable after Minneapolis murders. Now, I said in episode 123 that I can't believe that doctors treating minors is ethical for transgender treatment. I just don't think it's ethical. I think that those individuals, those children, minors, are unable, if they're not able to gender identify correctly as their DNA says, then they should not be allowed to make body altering life changes like that as a minor, no matter if the parents want it, without really going through a rigorous mental health profile. And not only a mental health profile for the child, but a mental health profile for the parent who thinks this is the only answer. Yes, you stop cancer, of the toe by cutting off the leg. Yeah. But that's a true medical condition. Mental illness is a true medical condition, but we certainly don't chop off body parts because of mental illness. We get to the root of the mental illness. Pumping children full of hormones and God only knows what drugs, the same stuff they did in East Germany to Olympians. So Republican leaders and activists are demanding sweeping bans on transgender treatments and accountability for doctors and hospitals following last week's Catholic school murders in Minneapolis. And Democrats, gun control and not prayer. That's their answer. Have largely avoided addressing the role of transgender ideology in the shooting, instead focusing on calls for stricter gun controls. And Omar, of course, the squad, criticized efforts to highlight the attacker's gender, calling it not the moment to finger point. Really? Really, not the moment to finger point. Oh, God. And, I know they can't get her out. And I'm hoping that, they find more nonsense that she has done, that they get her out. Gun control. They already have gun control in that state. And they're saying, well, he went out of state to buy the gun. Well, yeah, you can do that. You can do that. And he bought the guns legally. And would they have been able to put him into a hospital for mental health reasons, he might not have been able to get those guns. And that's all speculation. But they're mentally ill. They should not be allowed to get guns. If you can't tell the difference on your gender or you're confused with that, I don't want you handling a gun. I don't even want you driving a car. Certainly can't be a pilot. You shouldn't be a surgeon or a doctor. I'd question your motives on being a lawyer. Because if you can't get down to the basics of who you are, and honestly, there's something wrong with you. You need serious mental health. And I don't see playing into your fantasy of being someone you're not and indulging your fantasy. We shouldn't have to indulge your fantasy. Shouldn't have to do it. Shouldn't have to indulge your fantasy. Absolutely ridiculous. And the Republican leader said the shooting highlights the dangers of normalizing transgender ideology, described it as both a mental illness and a public safety risk. Well, mentally ill people do pose a problem for the public. Mental illness should be treated, not affirmed. Altering official records or performing harmful medical procedures should be criminalized, especially on children. Of course it should be. Now, as an adult, if you want to pay for this yourself out of your own pocket, I shouldn't have to pay for that. I will pay for someone who has cancer. I will pay for someone who's been in an accident, regardless if it was their fault or not. I have no problems paying for that. This, I have a major problem that our tax dollars are going into. And believe me, they're going into it. Texas has taken steps in the right direction, but there's more work to do to protect kids and ensure those suffering to get real treatment. So, mental health. And County Republican Chairman Beau French, and he's from Tarrant County, Texas, that Congress must shut down what he called the transgender industry. And there is an industry with it. After multiple mass shootings by individuals identifying as trans, Congress must act immediately to shut down this industry. Ban the drugs, ban so-called affirming care, ban surgeries, ban counseling. No, you need mental health counseling. Do everything possible to restore sanity and to America. Well, if they're mentally ill, they're not fixing themselves. They got to be helped by a professional. So banning counseling, no. But if that counseling is there to go, oh yes, Billy, you are now, you want to be called Brianna? Okay. No. You're Billy. You want to change your name, you're going to change it to a gender name, but you're not going to change it to Brianna because you feel you're a woman. You are not a woman. You're a man. So, now, U.S. Representative Brandon Gill described transgenderism as a disease and condemned what he called predators pushing it onto children. Transgenderism is not only a disease, it's a dark distortion of the natural order and God's ordained gender. This woke, weird ideology is mutilating children and being shoved down their throats by predators in education and media. Those who further entrap the young and vulnerable should face the consequences. Now, I'd say legal consequences that should have been highlighted as legal consequences, not the consequences of a mob or anything like that. So, and studies also raised concern about transgender medical industry. A 4-year review by the National Health Service in England found evidence supporting hormone blockers and cross-sex hormones for minors was remarkably weak, meaning that it's not something that works. And they also found in California individuals who underwent sex-altering surgeries were twice as likely to commit suicide following the procedure. Vaginoplasty, procedure. The name implies a lot of things. A May 2025 Department of Health and Human Services review likewise cast doubt on the effectiveness of gender transition procedures for young people. In a 409-page federal report concluded that evidence supporting puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgery was very low in quality and carried significant risk, including irreversible infertility. It recommended prioritizing psychotherapy as a safer first-line treatment. So, what everyone that has any common sense knows, that these people and children that have these transgression outbursts, number one, they outgrow it. If just left to their own devices, normally will outgrow it. And it's being fed by parents who go, oh, it's all right, Billy. You can be a girl, instead of going, no, Billy, you're a boy, stop it, go outside and play. It is a very, very rare circumstances because of a medical condition that you are not who you appear to be. So it does happen. It does happen. But it's very, very rare. So it's now becoming a political stand. And it might be hard for Democrats to really take a position on this. And that's why someone like the squad leader said that, now is not the time. Yeah, of course it's not the time. You can't discuss it because you try to normalize crazy and you're going to be put in that same category. You might be able to say, I can explain why they're crazy and condemn their actions. But you can't say it's normal. Being trans is not normal. Being gay is not normal. It goes against the natural order of things. Bisexuality, no, I consider that gay, but that's, you could like women, you could like men. I don't know. But you can reproduce. Gay people cannot reproduce. A man cannot have a baby. Not without horrendous, and I don't even know if it's ever been tried, surgical intervention. Not naturally. So, being transgender, there's something, the only thing I could think of is the box of cereal, Cocoa Puffs. Take it from there. What do you have to be to want Cocoa Puffs? Hungry is not the answer. All right. And with that, I'm going to go over into the John Oliver story. He came out and said that Chuck Schumer's devotion to his imaginary friends for underwhelming Democratic party. And Schumer has made up a family from Long Island that he says guides him with his political agenda. Joe and Eileen Bailey, these are the names of the middle-class couple from Massapequa, New York, that Senator Minority Leader Chuck Schumer made up and has been using to guide his political decisions. This is according to John Oliver. John Oliver stated, "I'm not saying that imagining a manifestation your targets want and needs is necessarily a bad thing." And Oliver went on to say, "But even if you can understand the potential utility of creating a prototypical voter in your head, this goes way beyond that. Now you're having conversations. This is what they said. This is what they do. This is how they act." That's schizophrenia. Schumer might have schizophrenia, a layman might say. In my opinion, time for Schumer to hang it up. Oliver said he then outlined all the odd quirks Schumer has given this family over the years, like Joe's love for the New York Islanders and Eileen's volunteer work for her church. Schumer has even determined how the couple has voted, and that's where Oliver's problems with this thought exercises seem to lay, or lie. So, Schumer has said that Bailey once again, fake people, voted for Trump in 2016, were split between Trump and Biden in 2020, and voted for Trump in 2024. So, Senator Schumer, the minority leader of the Senate, one time the majority leader of the Senate, senator from the great state of New York, has used imaginary people to guide him. That this is how he thinks these people would react. And again, remember when politicians would say Mr. and Mrs. America and things like that as being, this is how they would think, this is what they would do. Is this much different? I think that Schumer has gone beyond that and believes that this is what they would do instead of using facts. Why would Eileen volunteer in a church? Why not a synagogue or a mosque or a soup kitchen? Why from Massapequa, which is a predominantly Republican and Italian, Catholic, Christian, Jewish, area. Very aligned to being conservatives. There is a large Democratic population in the area, but Long Island has always, for the most part, gone red. I don't know what Schumer's thinking or what his ideas are with this. Schumer, I think, has lost relatively contact with the voters in New York, and he's just a popular name to go to. He's recognized. Just like Alphonse D'Amato and all those people. They were people that you could tie a name to and a situation. And at one time, I would say that Schumer was a moderate moderate Democrat. Used common sense and, of course, he would go towards his voting base and who's ever contributing money to him and stuff. But that's the way the game is played. So I don't mind him playing the game. I just say that he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, another one, and it's time for him to move on, settle out. Nadler from Brooklyn announced that he is not going to seek another term. Now, that's interesting, but Jerry Nadler has been a fixture in that political scene forever. And he has had some health problems and a large political falling out, I think. And he knows that he wouldn't win, but he will get to put in a successor. And nothing happened in Brooklyn, in his area, without him having a say in. Nothing. In Brooklyn, where he was, he was the king. And you had to pay tribute to the king. And you couldn't get anything built in Brooklyn without the king in his area giving the thumbs up on it. And when I say thumbs up, I mean this. So, the end is near for Schumer. I think Schumer's going to have to really think about running again. And the reason these people stay in office for so freaking long is to hide their sins. Whereas, isn't it always interesting that when these people leave offices, 2 years later they're indicted for something, because they can no longer hide their sins. They can't cover. Just a interesting idea. And this goes for Republicans, just politicians in general, when they've been there a long time and really fight for that I'd say that they're protecting themselves at a certain point. They all get dirty. There's no way not to get dirty. Even beloved AOC has gotten dirty. Bernie Sanders has gotten dirty. They all get dirty. And that's what happens when you go into the pig pen. They all come out millionaires. Even the Squad. Look at the Squad. Take a look at their finances. And you tell me that she's just one of the people. Nancy Pelosi. Just one of the people. Bernie Sanders. Oh, I got my money from writing books. Well, $2 million, $3 million, and I sold 12 books. Come on. Cuomo, same thing. They start a phony publishing company. They funnel money through that publication and go, we think that paying $5 million for a book deal is a good thing. And then, the books don't sell. They're given away. We printed, 50,000, 100,000 books, and they're in boxes somewhere. And these are legit companies, publishing houses that have started and printing, and all of a sudden they just go away. But the checks keep rolling out. So how do you think these book deals work for these politicians? It's an easy way to get them money, and they pay taxes on it. They've taken that money and cleaned it. And it's a book deal. Yeah. Amazing. And both parties have done it. So I'm not blaming the Republicans. I'm not blaming the Democrats. I'm not saying this one, this one. They all do it. They all do it. You get into the pig pen, you're going to get dirty. All right. So that's John Oliver and his spin on Schumer. So we'll see what Chuck Schumer has to say about that. If I was Chuck, I wouldn't even answer. I wouldn't even acknowledge it. John Oliver? What is that? Is that a fish place? I don't know. So I wouldn't even give it the light of day. All right. In Texas, this is an interesting one because it's another one where I called it. Governor Paxton denounces insane Texas court ruling supporting Beto O'Rourke. Now, remember the Paxton, I'm sorry, not the governor, the attorney general, went after Beto O'Rourke's fundraising as a scam, that he wasn't telling people where this money was going. So as such, there wasn't full and fair disclosure. The 15th court effectively granted real parties a mandamus petition less than 24 hours after it was filed without providing the state an opportunity to respond, wrote Solicitor General William Peterson on behalf of the OAG, Office of the Attorney General. And usually that very rarely happens that quick that you say, you turn around and you go, you got X amount of, what would be considered an unreasonable time frame. So a mandamus petition is a formal request for a court to issue a writ of such, which is a court order compelling a government official or lower court to perform a specific mandatory duty that they are legally required to do. This type of petition is used when an official has failed to act as required or has abused their authority, often in cases of unreasonable delays in processing applications or an administrative decision. Now, that is a big Latin word for failure to doing your job. And the filing that the Attorney General had done against Beto O'Rourke was done very quickly, and the courts, the 15th court said that no, you couldn't do that like you did it. But really what the 15th Court of Appeals did is put their fingers on the scale in a blindly political attempt to aid fundraiser Beto O'Rourke, and that decision should be immediately overturned, Paxton said. This completely unprecedented order, which was done with zero regard for Texans who have been scammed by Robert Francis, is a gift to Beto O'Rourke, designed intentionally to allow him to resume his deceptive scheme without allowing my officers to respond. What the court said is you had 30 hours to answer this and fulfill your duties. What was you couldn't be done. It's an insult to the people of Texas and an affront to our judicial system, and a disastrous precedent if allowed to continue without being reversed. So I'm urging the Texas Supreme Court to reverse a flawed, unprecedented ruling protecting Beto O'Rourke. Paxton wrote, I will stop at nothing to ensure Beto and his radical organization are held accountable to the full extent of the law. The OAG then filed a letter to the Texas Supreme Court arguing that such a decision is unprecedented and is seeking relief. Now, I had said that when they did this, when they said that the money is being collected by this group, and that he has like so many of these 501c chapter groups that it really is a scheme. Real Parties is just one of them. He has a whole bunch of them. So he was able to continue funding, but he couldn't take that money and give it to that group. So he had a parent organization and then all these filters down that they would go, well, we can give to this organization, that's one of ours, and we can take it out of the bucket and give it over there and move it around as needed, but they were restricted from giving it to the group that said they would pay for the Democratic legislators who fled the state in order not to do their job, and ultimately had to return and, get beaten up. But I said that at that time, I didn't think that this would hold up in court. That you have Beto O'Rourke up there who is known to be a progressive Democrat. They're attending a rally that he supports, and I can't see anyone giving their money to him that didn't know that this was going to go towards a leftist agenda. It doesn't follow. So I said it would be difficult for the courts to go and approve it like they had and stopped Beto O'Rourke from doing it. We shall see. I think the Supreme Court of Texas, not the Supreme Court of the United States, but of Texas, will say that the amount of hours given to justify your position and fill in all the blanks on these pages to the satisfaction of the 15th district. No, but I will say 5 days is sufficient. So they can turn around and go, we're going to stop the 15th from proceeding. We're going to hold back on it. We're going to give you 5 days or 10 days to get this information in there. And then you're going to let the 15th Circuit Court do their job. And then if you want to appeal it to the decision, either party can do it. So this is, and the Texas Supreme Court are all Governor Abbott's picks, and they're all Republicans. So if the 15th District Court of Appeals did something wrong, they'll find it. And then we'll remedy it. And the remedy could be as much as, no, the original barring of that stands and you got to sue and go through. But I thought the way that it was done, it wouldn't hold up. It wouldn't hold up. And I think it got the Democrats to have to come back, because now they couldn't fund any other group that gave them money, so it kind of halted that. And it bought the time that the Republicans needed to force their hand to come back. So, it's very cloudy. The water is very, very cloudy and muddy. Because the state of Texas was using the idea that this was an illegal activity, the whole thing, and this was supporting an illegal action. And I didn't think that it was an illegal action, but if the courts filed a civil warrant for these people, then yeah, I don't, again, it's this very murky territory that they've all gone to. And it becomes very difficult for people to make an informed decision. All right, with that, I did not do a live show. If anyone's looking for my live show, I wasn't going to do that today. 2 p.m. today, the president is coming out with an announcement. Everyone, remember, the last 4 days he hasn't been seen, but he was seen. It was just ridiculous. Is the president dead? Did something happen to him? And he even had that maniac Waters, chime in. What a moron. The president said it's going to be on defense, and more than likely it has something to do with Russia not coming to the table quickly enough for Trump. Either that, or they're going to announce some type of ceasefire, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and done for a very, very good reason to be done at 2 in the afternoon. Because it would be good news for the stock market. And if he makes some type of announcement that is positive in the defense, then I think it will be a big rally point. I think, I don't even know what the market is doing right now. I should have looked, but I didn't. Let's take a look at it right now. I'm going to tell you what the market is doing, because that is something that we all like looking at. Let's go over to finance and see if the market is. The market is all down right now. Gold is up $58 to $35.74. S&P is down 1%, 0.8 on the Dow, 1.3% on NASDAQ, and about 0.07 on the Russell. Boy, look at the S&P, boy. Still in high ground. Still on very, very high ground. But I think that the overall, I think this is going to be a positive announcement. At least I hope so. The market will probably, come up to its opening numbers, and then tomorrow ingest and digest everything that goes on with the statement at 2 o'clock. So if there's anything really earth-shattering, I'll jump right in there with it. If not, I'll wait till tomorrow. So give to a charity. Make sure it's a registered charity, and it's one that you personally know. Don't become a victim helping a victim. Give to a food bank. They need more than just food. Check with them. Give them cans and ask them what else do they need. Say a prayer. Prayer does work. And with that, as always, be well, be safe. I hope to say hello to all my new viewers. I need people to join the page, to join my channel, to subscribe. I need to get those numbers up there, and I'm going to be working hard. Haven't been doing much. Been so busy, and the weather is so nice outside that I can get a lot of things done outside. And I'm still doing car repairs. I'm still doing house repairs. I'm still doing yard stuff. I'm still capable of doing that. As long as I'm capable of doing that, I'm going to do it. I hate paying people for things that I can do. I'd rather spend that money on my grandchildren. I'd rather spend that money on me and the wifey and for other things other than that. I don't begrudge those people for working. If I can do it, I'm going to do it. All right. With that, I'm going to fade to black.